Guys, welcome everybody. So we have a rule. If you're a beautiful person, feel free to put your camera on. If you're not, we respect that you would like to stay in the shade. I will go straight to hell.
We are also live already, okay?
Are we live?
Yes.
Awesome. Time for me to drop some useful information. Okay, guys. My name is Mylène and I'm French. That's why I have an accent, if you're curious about that. And I'm the booking manager for the city of Rio de Janeiro. So if you're around the city, perhaps you came already to some of our events before the pandemic when we were presential and we've met already. If not, nice to meet you. Today, my goal in the next 1 minute, 2 minutes is to tell you a bit more about our school, Le Wagon. So initially we were born in Paris and we have been the best coding bootcamp for the last 5 years. And actually for data science, we just started last year and we have already been ranked among the 10 best data science bootcamp in the world. So we are very proud of that. And also we're very proud of our international community. You can do Le Wagon in more, like, I think today's even more, 40 cities in the world. Like you can do Le Wagon in Paris, Berlin, São Paulo, Rio de Janeiro, Mexico, Tokyo. Like the only thing that changes is the language. Like in Paris, it's in French, in São Paulo, it's in Portuguese, in Rio, it's in English, and the price also. And it's the cheaper schools are in Brazil. So you're very lucky to have that. And we're also very proud of our 9,000 students community. It's a very strong network. It's a very big family. I was telling to Amanda yesterday, your teacher of the day was teacher yesterday at school. I was telling her the beautiful story of a Brazilian student who was helping someone on Slack. Slack is our communication platform and where you can ask for help, any kind of help. And someone was asking for help on their website and the Brazilian student helped him. And then it just continued to help him more and more. And then out of nowhere, it was a French company. They asked him like, oh, do you want to come to Brazil, to come to Paris and work with us? So yeah, that's how it works. The community, we're very happy and proud of it. And something I wanted to answer too, it was my previous slides. A lot of people think that, after Le Wagon, you can only become a web developer or data analyst. It's not true. Like it's true, like 50% of our students have that kind of tech jobs, but the other 50% do something else. If you want to be a freelancer, if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to work in marketing, HR, you can, but you have a different set of skills that make you a very valuable professional for the market. So we're very happy to have this diverse community also. And just for you to know, for our two boot camps, we're very proud also to announce that starting this year, we are launching the part-time format for the data science bootcamp. It's starting in March for both São Paulo and Rio de Janeiro. So if you're interested, please feel free to apply. And just for you to know, how does it work? So the intense format, it's 2 months, Monday to Friday, from 9 a.m. until 6 p.m., 7 p.m. max. And it's always the same format. Like you come, you have the class, and then the whole day you just practice. There's no other ways than to learn how to code. I mean, it's how to code or about data science. Like it's like a language. Like you have to practice it. And at Le Wagon, we are very practice-oriented, project-oriented. That's how we work. Okay. And the part-time is exactly the same, except you have more flexibility because the class is a video, so you can watch it in 2 parts, you can watch it whenever you want. But then on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday, it's exactly the same. You come to school presentially or online, and you do the challenges with the students and the teachers. So like people ask me like, what's the best format? Like it really depends on you, your lifestyle, if you can quit your work for 2 months, if you can quit your studies for 2 months. It really depends on what you prefer. But at the end of the day, it's exactly the same. It's just different formats. Okay. And something important to know, the next full-time class, data science full-time class, it's starting not this Monday, the following one. So if you're interested in this class, please apply this week. Why? I'm going to show you, because there's a process before that. So the selection process is basically an interview with me or Anna in São Paulo. And it's just like, it's nothing complicated. Like, we just want to make sure that Wagon is the right choice for your career. And then you have to do a challenge. For the web dev students, it's a 10 hours coding challenge. For the data science student, it's a little 30-minute quiz. At the end of the day, this challenge in the selection process is more for you than for us. Like, we want to make sure that you realize what kind of requirements are necessary for you to succeed in the bootcamp. Okay, so it's not like a trap, a trick. It's more for you than for us. And then once this is done, you have the prep work, which is around 60 hours. For the data science class, I heard it's more around 100 hours. It really depends on you also. So if you're interested in the class starting on the 25, please apply this week, because you have to do all of this before. So make sure you apply early. And even if you're interested in our April to June intensive program, or even the part-time starting in March, or the July part-time, the web dev part-time starting in July, make sure you apply as soon as possible, because you have all of this work to do before. I'm always very sad when someone applies like 3 days before and they think that they can just get in. And I'm like, it's not ideal. So yeah, make sure you apply as soon as possible. And to know about our next events, next workshops, we have a lot of cool stuff happening at Wagon. Make sure you follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, like everywhere, to know about the next events. Thank you so much. That was it for me. And now I will introduce to you Amanda, the teacher for the day. Oh my.
Hi.
Hi, Amanda.
Hello, everyone.
So for the ones who don't know Amanda, I know that some of you guys know Amanda because I know some faces in the
Some colleagues are here.
She graduated in our last class in December. So if you have questions to ask data science students from Wagon, please feel free to do so in the Zoom chat or the YouTube chat. We're here to make sure that all your questions are answered. Okay? Thank you so much. And thank you, Amanda, for giving this class today.
Thank you for the opportunity. Okay. I think somebody has their mic on, I'm not sure. But I'm gonna ask you guys to just keep it in mute. And if you have any questions, please send it on the chat that I'm gonna answer it, or my friends are gonna answer it as soon as possible. Okay, can I share?
Yes, of course, whenever you want.
Okay. Right, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
I guess so, okay, nice. So today, as you know, our workshop is about data analytics, some, at least the basic part of it. It's just the beginning of everything you may see in the bootcamp if you choose to join. And in order for us to study that, we are gonna divide our workshop into two parts. The first part is Python 101, where I'm gonna teach you some basic things about Python. And then we are gonna do some exploratory data analysis using Pandas, which is a data analysis library, Matplotlib and seabourn, which are statistics, data visualization libraries as well. And we are all gonna do that in a notebook, which is this one. I don't know if you guys are interested in data analysis. You probably have heard of Jupyter Notebook. This is a software where you can code, and it's super user-friendly. You can check your codes, check all of the graphs. You can even do like a presentation using Jupyter Notebook. And I already have it on my computer, but if you guys want to practice afterwards, you can do it online, or you can either download it and use it, launch it on your terminal. So basically here we have like, we can load the files. We have the cell, which we are going to code in. You can change the cell to a markdown cell, which is basically something that you can write a title or a comment or whatever you want. Like for example, data analysis, and then I run. And then here I have my first title. So it's super easy to use. If I am in code mode, I can just type anything like a simple math in Python, like 2 + 2, and I run it. And then here I have the output. So as you can see, pretty easy. Okay, so like I said, let's start with Python 101. And to begin, I'm going to talk about the built-in types. What are these built-in types? Python has some data types that it's really important for us to know, because when you are doing an analysis, it is really important to know what you're working with. Because sometimes, imagine you may have a data that you think it's a number, but then it's not, it's a text, and you have to convert it. So it's really important to always look at the data type. So to start, I'm going to talk about numeric data type. So let's run our markdown. So numeric types, I'm going to talk about two. The first one is an integer, which we very lovingly we call int, which is, for example, number 2. It's an integer. And by the way, you can also check what is the type, because sometimes you just, I don't know, you don't remember, or you just don't know what it is. And Python has a function for that, which is type. So if I type here 2.5, it's going to return float, which is our second numeric type. In Python, we can do a lot of mathematical operations, anything you can think of. So I can do, like I did before, 2 + 2, I can do 5 × 5, and then run it. I can do operations between integers and floats, like 2.5 × 5, and then I get the answer. And I think for numeric, that's it. You can subtract, you can sum, you can multiply, you can basically do anything you want. So our second type is a text type, which we call strings. Strings are defined when you write something between double quotes or single quotes. For Python, it doesn't matter. So let's say I'm going to write a name like Boris. Nothing happens here because I didn't do any different operation. I just wrote a name. A string can be a simple word and a whole text. Of course, it's not really advised to write an entire text because it gets really polluted and too big to read. So, but you can write anything you want, even numbers. So let's say I write 2.5 here. So this, if I do type and I do 2.5, it's going to return a string because it's between quotes. So this is not a number. We can do some operations using strings, like concatenating them using the plus sign. So if I do Boris plus, let's see, is 25 years old, and I run it, I have Boris is 25 years old. So as you can see, Python is really smart and you can do a lot of things with it. So now we are going to talk our third data type, which is a Boolean type. Boolean has 2 values only, and they are very extremely important, especially when we talk about some machine learning analysis and other things, because it's important to know if something is true or it's false. So to be a Boolean, true needs to be capitalized and false needs to be capitalized as well. If you write like this, it's going to return an error because it doesn't exist. It's not a string, it's not a Boolean, it's nothing to Python. So it's a name error. So it always has to be capitalized. If you do type, which you can do here as well, you can write type true and then returns a Boolean. There are some let's say, operations you can do with Booleans, like some arguments. If you do true and true, it's going to return true. If you do true and false, it's going to return false. So when you use and, it only returns true if both are true. Otherwise, it's always false. If I change this to or, the or statement, then it can be true as well. And it's only going to be false if both are false. So far, so good. Any questions from anybody? I don't think so. I cannot see the chats. Right. Okay. Let's continue. So far, these are our data types. But think about it. What can we do with all of this information if there is no way to access it? So we need a way to access our data. So that's why we use variables, which is basically assigning a value to another name, or like I said, a variable. And if I do name equals Boris, right? This equal sign doesn't mean name is literally equal to Boris. It's just attributed to Boris. So this becomes a variable, right? So if I do name, I'm gonna access the value that is inside. This becomes stored in a memory, okay, related to name. So Python has also a function called len. And if I write Boris, I'm gonna get 5. So len always gives me the length of, the number of characters of, in this case, a string. You can do it with other things as well, but for now, a string is fine. So if I do len name, is it gonna return the number 4 or is it gonna return the number 5? So it returns the number 5 because, like I said, name is a variable and it contains Boris inside. So if I do name, yes, because now it becomes a string. Okay. So there are some other things we can do with it. Python has a method, which is also a function called capitalize. So if I use capitalize, let's do it differently. If I do Boris dot capitalize, it's going to capitalize literally my string. So if I do name dot capitalize, let's remember that name contains Boris. The same thing is going to happen. But now, imagine you have a lot of information, like this big string or this big text, a bunch of information. It's always important to use variables, and variables with names that you can remember, because believe me, you are going to forget it. Okay, let's continue. Nice. So another method is the ends with method. The ends with method literally tells me if a name ends with something or not. So if I do ends with A, ends with is going to return false, of course, because Boris doesn't end with A. But if I do S, it returns true. So as you can see, some methods take arguments and some don't. And then if you ask me, but how am I going to know the methods that return with arguments and the ones that don't? You are going to have to look at the documentation, because there are so many methods and so many functions that it's important to learn how to go to the documentation and read about it. Okay. So going out of the notebook for a little bit, let's talk about data sourcing, which is basically collecting data from somewhere. There are many ways to get data. You can get data from a CSV file, a .txt file. You can get it in a database if your company has a database. You can get data from a website that you visit every day. you can get it from an API, which is an application that you send a request to a website and then you retrieve all the data that you need. But that's not always available. And sometimes it is very confusing. So, and you can also receive the file by email, yes, which is super easy. But this depends on the type of data, because sometimes you have structured data, which is very easy to open and very easy to use, like a CSV, a JSON, or any other type. You have unstructured, like PDF, doc, TXT. So it's really hard. You have to probably work with it a little bit, change it a little bit. And then you have, in the worst case scenario, a proprietary type of data. So you have to think, how can you open it? Do you have to pay for it? So it's not always that easy. But if you think about the data that is online, like I said, websites or a database, it's easy to access because in a database, you probably have access to it. Probably your company pays for it. Sometimes it can be Google BigQuery or any other type of data warehouse that you can think about. The API, like I told you, which you make a request and then it returns to you all the information that you need. But you really need to look at the documentation because not all APIs are the same. And last but not least, if nothing else works, if you don't have access to data, you just do some web scraping. That can be, it takes some work, but sometimes can be easy, sometimes can be hard, but it is a way to get the data that you need. So it's always good to learn some web scraping. And just to remember you guys, we do have a workshop about it. Okay, there is another way that you can find data, which is the Google dataset research. Basically, just type the type of data that you would like to find. And there is Kaggle, which is actually extremely famous, especially if you want to practice some data analysis or machine learning, deep learning. You can access a lot of data here. COVID-19 world vaccination progress. So you have probably here data in CSV, so it's easy to access. Okay, so let's talk about Pandas. Pandas is a library for data analysis. It's made for it. It is easy to use. It's very important if you like data analysis to learn about it. You can access the whole documentation, anything that you need from this website. Pandas is something that it does not come with your computer, so you have to install it. You have to install it in your terminal, but I already done it. Okay, of course. In order for you to access it, you need to do import pandas SPG. But why SPG? Because imagine every time you're gonna use a function or call a method, you're gonna write pandas. So you have to know that most programmers are essentially lazy, so we like to save time and we like to write as at least, I mean, the possible, the better. So SPG makes your life much easier. Okay, so you might be wondering, for the ones that are not very used to programming or pandas or have never heard of it, why not continue using Excel, right? Everybody does it. Because with pandas, it's easy to handle large data sets. You can combine multiple files. You can create new columns and data. You can retrieve the data with APIs and even with web scraping using pandas to transform into a very nice looking data set, which is the same thing as a table. And because of Python, of course, which is super, let's say, user-friendly language. Okay. So I'm going to show you later again, but this is the way to import pandas, like I told you, like I already did. This is the way to read a CSV file. And then you, like I told you, you can go here to read the documents, to read about any function that you need. Now about seabourn. Seabourn is literally for data visualization, especially statistical data. So it's really important to know seabourn and to also learn how to read the documentation. Because see, you have many options here, and it's important to study and know which option you're going to choose. We are going to import it the same way we did pandas. Super easy. But then, now that we have learned all the basics so far, let's choose a data set, right? So today, we are going to use the New York City Airbnb Open Data. Okay, it's a data set from 2019. You guys can have access through Kaggle. I already downloaded, but it's super easy. Please do it and practice after we're finished. You just download here. We are going to get a CSV file, which is no more than a type of text file. Super easy to open with pandas. So here in Kaggle, you have, let's say, the basic information of the data that you want to see if it is exactly what you want when you're trying to practice. So now that we have chosen it, let's open and start our data analysis for the day. So remember we talked about variables. So I'm going to load a data set that I have downloaded before, and then I need a way to access it anytime that I want. So I'm going to attribute it to a variable. Let's call it our listings df. df comes from data frame. It's something from pandas. So to open it, we do pd.read_csv, and then we give the path to the file. My path is going to be data, which is the folder that my file is in. And this is the name of the file, but can be anything. Depends on how your computer is organized, where is your file, the name of your file. Now I'm gonna run it. And now let's take a look at our data. So if I do listings df dot head, which is a function from pandas, it's gonna give me the first 5 rows. And it is a way that I wouldn't have to like open the entire data frame, which would be super huge. And this way I can take a quick look on the number of columns, more or less, depends. Sometimes it's really big and hard to read. So I can see here we have the name of the listing. Basically, it's like a description. I have the neighborhoods group, neighborhoods, latitude, longitude. That's very important when you talk about location. Room type, price. There is also a way for you to take a look at the bottom of our data frame, which is basically the same thing, but instead of heads, we do tail, right? So as you can see, we have this data set is pretty big. I mean, it has almost 50,000 rows, okay? So, but how do I know? Am I going to just like open it and scroll down every time? No, sometimes you don't want to do these 2 functions. So there is another one from pandas that is called shape. So if I use shape, I get the number of rows and the number of columns that I have. So this is literally the shape of my data frame, which is super important because sometimes you want to select a specific value. Like, let's say I want to select this specific row from this specific column or 2 columns. So it's really important to know the size of it. Okay. There is another thing we can do. Remember I told you that data types are extremely important. Let's take a look how many data types we have here? Okay, as we can see, we have integers, we have floats, and we have objects. Objects here are strings, okay? Like, let's take the name, for instance. It's a string, okay? Nice. Right, so maybe when you retrieve some information, you may have some missing information, which is very, very common, especially for people that work with enrollments, like, let's say, people from HR, and then somebody just wants to apply for a job, and then there's missing information, and sometimes that's super hard to handle, or any other type of area you have that. We always have some missing information, so check it. In order for us to check this missing information, we are going to use a function called isNull, which gives me the null values, true or false. Okay, so this is super hard to read. I don't know if you guys agree, but you cannot have like a general look per column, how many you have. So in order for us to know this, we are going to use sum to literally sum the null values that we have per column. So here, as we can see, we have null values from name, host name, last review, reviews per month. Okay, so for our analysis today, I think last review is not important, but reviews per month, yes. So let's get rid of some of these columns. So let's name the columns first. So the columns I'm gonna drop, I'm gonna call columns to drop. And then let's see, host name, I don't need it. Reviews per month. And what else? I'm not gonna, let's see, no, not reviews per month. Last review. Yes, that's the one that's not important at all. Okay, and I don't need the name as well. It's like merely a description. Okay, so these are the columns. And in order for us to drop it, I'm gonna do listingsdf.drop. And then I'm gonna drop the columns to drop. The axis, which is the position, could be columns or rows. In this case, my axis is gonna be columns. And I'm gonna do it in place. What does this mean? If I say in place, it's gonna alter my data frame here, and I cannot change it anymore. In order for me to change it, let's say I want these columns again. I'm gonna have to reload my data, and then I'm gonna have to rerun everything. So make sure you actually do not need this information, because you won't be able to access it anymore. Right, so, okay. Host name, let's review. Okay. Right, of course not. I need my data frame. Okay, now it worked. So let's take a look again using this function. What happens? Okay, so now as you can see, we got rid of some columns, but we still have the reviews per month. So what can we do about it? We have null values, so we can also choose to insert a value in it. So how can we do it? There is also a function called, let's give our listingsdf and fill NA, and we are gonna fill this column, which is reviews per month, and we are gonna assign a value to it. to every null value, okay? So do not worry, I'm not gonna change the existing values, only the ones that do not exist. So I'm gonna add a 0, but you can add any number that you like. Just remember, this is gonna alter your analysis depending on what it is. So choose wisely. I'm gonna also do it in place. Okay, now let's take a look again.
Amanda, there's a question.
Yeah.
From Victor. Shouldn't the axis be rows?
No, because I am literally dropping the entire columns. You can do rows if you want, okay? In this case, I am doing columns because I don't need them. But let's say you need, let's say you have a much bigger data frame and then you have like less than 10% of new values. You can get rid of the rows if you want, okay? That's it. Did I answer the question?
Yeah.
Okay, nice. Right, let's continue. So as you can see, now we have no new values. Everything is 0. Nice. So let's check what we have to do. Okay, so I dropped some columns. I fill the numbers. Okay, nice. So let's talk about the columns and the rows. We need, sometimes we need a way to access it, right? Because let's say, I'm not gonna open my entire data frame all the time. That's super impractical. So a way for you to select your column is doing like this, because a column name is like a key and the rest are the values. So let's take a key like, not name because I don't have it anymore. Let's say price. Is it price or prices? Okay, price. Nice. So I access it. So, okay, but what am I going to do with this? Well, you can do a lot. You can use it in a function. You can do many things. But there is another thing. You can access like this, but let's say I want to access like 3 columns only. Then it's a little different. You need 2, not only 1, square brackets, and then you name all of the columns. Let's say neighborhood, I want room type, and price. Okay, do you see the difference? This is what we call a series. Okay, this is a comment, so Python is not going to interpret this. Okay, it's not, let's say, a code. And this is a data frame. Okay, that's a series, and this is a data frame. Okay, nice. See how pandas is super beautiful? It gives me all formatted and pretty, different from this. This is like literally you access only the values. Okay. Nice. Oh yeah, there is another way. This, we were talking about columns, right? So, but let's say I want to access only the rows. I want all the columns, but I want to limit the rows. What I can do is listings df, and then I slice it. Okay, the name of this is slice. So let's say I want the first 3. See, it's gonna give me all the columns of my data frame, but only the first 3 rows. Okay, it is useful, but there is a better way. Let's say I want only 3 columns and 3 rows. I can combine both methods. So I can do here my 3 columns, and then let's add how many rows I want. See? Very nice, right? Trust me, that's very useful. Okay, now we are gonna do something we call Boolean indexing. What is this? I can limit my numbers, okay? Let's go back to our listings DF price, okay? Let's say, I don't know yet how many prices I have, the number, like the range of prices, but I can limit if I want. I can do, I want the prices under 100, for instance, okay? Of course, it returns true or false because this is called Boolean indexing, but there is a way for me to limit my entire data frame. I just have to do listings df, and then I'm gonna get the whole data frame where prices are under 100. See, it doesn't look like much, but as you can see, I got like half, less than half of the values. Okay, any questions so far? No? Okay. Nice. Now we are gonna do the data analysis that you came here to see. And in order for us to do that, we need to ask some questions to our data, okay? What's our first question? So what are the 10 most reviewed listings? Okay, let's put it here, our markdown. So, sorry, Pandas has a function called n largest, okay? And basically this gives me the number of the largest values. And as I want the 10 most reviewed, I'm gonna specify 10. And then I want the number of reviews. Okay, so these are my 10 most reviewed. Very nice. What's our next question? So what are the New York neighborhood groups with listings? Okay. Oh, of course not. Okay. So first we need to check what are these neighborhood groups, okay? Because I don't know exactly, there are so many lines, I mean, but there is also a method for that. Let me just copy this to make my life easier. So if I do listings df neighborhood group, I have a function called unique. So this is gonna return me all the neighborhood groups that are unique. But this means that there are ones that are repeated. Yes, of course, I have many rows. So probably there are like 1,000 Manhattans, 1,000 Queens, and this way I can see the exact groups that I have. Okay, but now I need, let's see, how many listings per neighborhood? Okay, so how many do I have? So I'm gonna use this as well. And there is a function called value counts, okay? It's literally going to count all of the values in the neighborhood group, okay? Per neighborhood group. As you can see, almost half of the values are in Manhattan, so almost all of the listings are in Brooklyn and Manhattan. Nice, that's actually very useful. Sometimes, depending on your analysis, you can get rid of Staten Island because there aren't so many, or I don't know, you can use only this region. Depends on what you want to know. Okay, so what are the top 10 neighborhoods with Airbnb listings? Now we are going to talk about neighborhoods. Okay. So let's put together what we have learned so far. So I'm going to use the value counts so that I can see how many do I have per neighborhoods? But as you can see, there are a lot of neighborhoods. That's why we want only the first 10. So the first 10 I can use has, I can specify. So these are my top 10 neighborhoods with listings. Nice, but is it easy to see? I don't think so. I mean, there are so many numbers to compare. I think it would be much easier if we plotted. So we can plot using a function that is from matplotlib, like I was telling you before, which is just called plot. And then I can specify the kind of plot that I want. In this case, I think a bar plot can do it. So nice. Now, I think it's much better this way, right? Much easier to see, much easier to present to somebody. Very good. So let's move on and see our next question. Okay, we already saw. Oh yeah, we can also use the same thing, but using seabourn. With seabourn, we don't actually need the value counts, okay? But I'm not gonna do with the neighborhoods because there are so many, so I'm gonna do with the neighborhood group. So let me copy this. No, I don't think I need this, maybe this name, yes. Okay, so from seabourn, I do SNS count plot, which is the one that is gonna count all the values for us and then plot it. Super easy like that. So the data comes from our listings DF, and I need to specify an X, which is gonna be our neighborhood group. See? Super easy. So it's the same information we had before up here, but now plotted. It's much easier to see that most listings are in Manhattan, but that's like not so good. I think I can make it better. I think we should maybe organize it a little bit, change the order. Right. So let's specify an order. In order for us to do that, let's do neighborhoods group, our listings, right? So I need the value counts this time. And index, what is this? I'm just specifying that I want the index to be according to the value, from the highest value to the lowest value. And this is going to be the order in my plot, okay? Now I'm gonna take this code over here. Like I said, I think I'm a little lazy. I do copy and paste a lot. And then I'm gonna specify the order. Okay, so I think it's much better, right? I mean, you have to agree with me. I cannot. Oh, this is very good. Okay, let's go for our next question. I think we need to, what room types do we have, right? I mean, I don't know. So let's say, so these groups in the room type, there is an argument that we can create the data in this room type. Okay, let's
Amanda? Ah, you're muted, you're muted.
Hey. Yes, you lost me. My internet died for a minute. Okay, can you all hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Let's continue then with our analysis. Did I miss any questions or no, everything's fine?
All good.
Okay, nice. So I believe we have answered this. Yes, we have. Okay, nice. So now let's talk about prices. Let's check what is the distribution of flat prices, okay? So I need my listings DF. Okay, where is it? Okay, price. And then let's use seabourn as well, because I think everything with seabourn is pretty, has different colors, easy to understand. And seabourn has a plot which is called dist plot. It's a distribution plot, literally. And so let's see how it looks. Nice. So not so easy to read, right? As you can see, we have prices up to 10,000 and not so many. I think we should use the Boolean indexing to get rid of this. So let's create a new data frame, okay? Called affordable DF, okay? Only listings that are actually affordable. So let's say this is our listings DF, our listings DF as well, price. Let's say an acceptable price would be 500. I think that's actually super expensive, okay, but let's go with this. Nice, now I have my new data frame. It's exactly the same, but only for prices under 500. Let's use now the same code, see how it looks, but instead of listings, let's call our affordable. Much better this way. I could even use like, I don't know, under 300 maybe. But as you can see, most prices are between, I don't know, 50 or 20 until 200, more or less here, the concentration. Okay, very good. Nice. Okay. In pandas, we can also do some statistical operations. Like, for example, let's say I want to know the mean value of this. I'm not sure. So let's do for both our data frames. So listings DF, there are two ways that you can access a column. There is the other way that I taught you, and you can also do like this with a dot, super easy, and then call the function called mean. It returns me 152. Let's see if it changed. What do you guys think? Do you think this changed a lot? Okay, no, it didn't. But probably if I checked something else, it would probably change, but the mean, no, okay? Because most values are here, so it didn't change a lot. Okay. So what is the distribution of flat prices based on the neighborhood group? That's a big one. Okay, what is the distribution of flat prices? In order for us to see this type of distribution, because now we have two different things together and we have so many prices and some groups that I don't think we can use the distribution plots. I mean, it's not going to work, right? So we have actually a plot for that from seabourn, which is called the violin plot, okay? It looks interesting. So let's see. Let's do our affordable DF because the other one has those huge prices. And if you check, these are actually outliers, right? So they go really, really far from the mean. So we don't want them there. We don't care about them. So let's use our affordable DF. Our X is gonna be the neighborhoods group. Oh my God, neighborhoods group. But now we need our Y, which is the price, right? We need to see the influence. Looks interesting, right? But I think we can do better than that. So matplotlib has a function which is called the fixed size, that I can stipulate the size of my picture in this case. So I'm gonna import matplotlib.pyplot SPLT, and let's write dot figure fixed size, and then I don't know, 2010, I think that's a good size. And then I'm gonna copy this because it's the same code. Interesting, much better to understand. So as you can see, the largest distributions are here, a little bit under 100, right? And we don't have like a lot of prices here above 300 or even 200. Well, in Manhattan we do, but I think that's understandable. Okay, so let's continue. Okay, so remember I told you about latitude and longitude, how that's important for a map. Let's try to plot it on a map. Okay, very good. So first, what we are gonna do is let's just check the latitude and longitude, okay? So for that, let's do affordable DF, and then we are gonna plot. I'm gonna use a different kind of plot, which is called scatter, okay? I don't know if you guys have studied statistics, but a scatter plot is really used for regression and other analysis. Let's stipulate our X, which is our latitudes, our Y, which is, no, I think I changed it. Yeah, it's longitude and latitude, right? So the information that we want is price. So we are gonna divide it into the prices that we have. You are gonna see it, it's gonna be much better when I plot it. Let's use something called CMap, which is, I'm just gonna change the color of my map. Let's use Inferno. And then some other stuff that I'm gonna copy because it's just too much, right? So color bar equals true because I am changing the color of my map, the fixed size, because otherwise it would be too small. So let's check it out. Okay, so this is the location of each price. Okay, as you can see here, the colors represent different prices. Okay, nice. Now, what about our map? So the map, I actually already have it downloaded. Okay, I'm gonna use matplotlib.image and the function to read my .png file, okay? And then another one to show it, okay? And this is just the axis, it needs to be underneath this graph here above, otherwise we will not see the distribution on top of the map. We are gonna see it below it, okay? So I'm just gonna copy the same thing and same thing that I did before. And I'm gonna plot it on top of a map. This looks awesome, right? And super easy to understand the distribution per region and the prices. As you can see in Manhattan, you have like a lot of mixed prices, but especially here, a lot of high prices. So super nice. And for our analysis, that's it. I hope you guys liked it. And for another time, you guys can study some SQL, okay? So working with databases, how to extract, merge, change some informations in your data using SQL. API fetching, like using requests, like I told you, to retrieve the information from the websites for the ones that actually have an API. Web scraping using the Beautiful Soup package. We actually do have a workshop for this. I don't know the data. Maybe Milan already has a date for the web scraping, but if you're interested, you should come and see. This is also something that we learn how to do in our data science bootcamp and much more. And then, of course, machine learning. And I think that's it. Now, if you guys want, you can go to the Learn platform and do it yourselves. And then that's it.
Thank you so much, Amanda. Guys, so Amanda mentioned the Learn platform. I'm sending the link right now on the Zoom chat and on the YouTube chat. So you just have to copy paste it to your URL, and it will prompt you to a Wagon platform where you can start practicing and exercising, okay? What's next? So again, if you're interested in joining one of our bootcamp, make sure you do it this week. If you want to join the full-time class starting in São Paulo in Portuguese next Monday 25, you can do it remotely, okay? So if you're anywhere else in Brazil or in the world and you feel like learning about data science in Portuguese with our São Paulo team, please apply this week on the Wagon website. Otherwise, we can meet again in April, March, July for all our bootcamps, okie dokie. But again, remember that there's a long selection process and preparation process, so make sure that you apply on time. And I know that Karina, who's one of our team member from São Paulo, is gonna post on the chat her contact info if you need to talk with her, if you want more information, if you'd like to discuss anything with us, feel free to do so. And yeah, I think that's it for me. Do you guys have any question in the Zoom? You can unmute yourself on the left, bottom left. If you have any question for me, for Amanda, please feel free to unmute yourself. No.
I think everybody's shy.
Okay, guys. So we're always available on Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook. You can just shoot us a message, and we're always the whole team, Brazil team, is here to help you. Okay. Amanda, thank you so much for your first class. Congratulations, it was awesome.
Thank you.
We'll meet this week again. Okay. Thank you, guys. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys.